Hi, this is Miss Logan. Today I'll be going over some pre-AP Physics concepts such as dimensional analysis, metric conversions, and rearranging equations. So just as some reminders as we begin the year and we begin watching flipped lessons, maybe for the first time, we've done this in the past. So first we need to watch our flipped lessons and take notes. I will be checking notes in class, so it's important that you take them. Next, remember that you can pause, rewind, and fast forward. I am not there to watch you, so it's really up to you and what you need out of this lesson. Last, you need to complete the Google form that this video is attached to and press done on Google Classroom. As a reminder, the Google form is based on completion, not on accuracy. So let's get started. Alright, so dimensional analysis is also known as conversion, converting units, or factor label method. You've probably done this for a while and may have learned a variety of methods. So this is any time we need to go from one unit to another. So for instance, feet to miles or seconds to days. We will always need what we call a conversion factor to get started. You may need to look these up or you will need to memorize them. For the AP exam, it's pretty much expected that you know some very common ones, and that's especially with our metric conversions. So a conversion factor will look like 5,280 feet in 1 mile, or 1 cup equals 0.125 ounces. All right, let's try this out. All right, so let's practice converting just one unit. So we are going to go from 10 kilometers to inches. So in this situation, I'm going to need to use a lot of different conversion factors to get there by hand. So I'm going to start out with 10 kilometers. And then I'm going to draw my T. Okay. So down here, we're not going to be writing anything. In our next slide, I'll talk about when we actually write things there. All right. So my first conversion factor, I have 1 kilometer in 0.62 miles. Now, as a reminder, this top and bottom always need to cancel out. And then I need to check, is this next unit where I'm going to? It's not. So I need to use my next conversion factor. So 1 mile is 5,820 feet. Okay, I can still cross these miles out, but I'm left with feet, so I need to keep going. So I know that there is 1 foot in 12 inches. And then let's cross that out. Finally have the unit I want. So remember, as I'm going across, I am multiplying. So I'm going to be multiplying. And my top and bottom, I'm going to divide. Now in this case, I only have ones down here, so I don't need to really worry about it. So I'm going to multiply all of those out and get a pretty large number. So 433,000, and my units are inches. Cool. Let's try a little bit harder one. Alright, so we're now going to convert 2 units. And by 2 units, I mean that there is a unit at the top and the bottom. So we're converting 15 miles per hour to meters per second. So this is a really common conversion that you're going to have to make on the AP test. So I'm starting out with 15 miles over 1 hour. And let's get started with converting the top first. So we're first going to convert miles, and then we're going to convert hours. All right, so my conversion factors, 0.62 miles. And I have 1 km on top. So remember, we're getting rid of these miles, still have kilometers. So in 1 kilometer, I have 1,000 meters. Okay, cross it off, I have meters. Cool. But now I need to work on this hour that is down here. So I'm going from hours to second. So if I have hours on the bottom right here, then I need to start off with my 1 hour on top. That's pretty much where we see the biggest mistake in these problems. So I have 1 hour and 60 minutes. I can cross out my hours. And then in 1 minute, I have 60 seconds. So now I have my meters per second. From here, like in the previous side, I'm multiplying all the way across, and then I'm dividing by what's at the bottom. Okay, so for my answer, I'm going to get 6.72 meters per second. Awesome. Alright, so our next topic we're going to talk about is metric conversions and prefixes. And this kind of goes along with dimensional analysis. So in the metric system, we use prefixes so we can convert without dimensional analysis. Okay, so the metric system is very different than our standard system. So our standard system, we have 12 inches in 1 foot and 3 feet in 1 meter. However, when we have the metric system, everything is by powers of 10. So in our metric system, I have 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer and 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So everything is going by some power of 10. Well, how can we tell that? We use our prefixes. So our prefixes always mean the same thing. For instance, our centimeter always means times 10 to the negative 2. And let's talk about how we can use this. So, how can we get started with this? Well, let's say that I have 1 kilometer, okay? And I want to figure out how many millimeters there are in that kilometer. Well, I'm going to use this scale right here. So, I can start off with my 1 kilometer, which is located right here, and I'm moving 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I'm moving 6 spaces to the right. So I can actually move this decimal point over from my kilometers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I know that in 1 kilometer there are 1,000,000 millimeters. So it's just one way we can use it. This tends to be the way that we use it in maybe 8th or 9th grade classes. However, it's a good way to start visualizing what's going on. Another way to write this is that I moved 6 spaces to the right, so I'm going positive. So instead of writing all these zeros, I can just do 1 times 10 to the 9th, or sorry, to the 6th. So this is just a really nice trick for when you need to convert really quickly. Instead of actually moving it over, you can look at your power right here. Alright, so some examples. So 6 centimeters right here. If I look at centa, that's 10 to the negative second. So if I want to make this into meters, this is just 6 times 10 to the negative second meters. 3 micrograms, so that's going to be 3 times 10. I go down to micro, that's to the 6th, times 10 to the negative 6th meters. Over here, kind of the same thing. I have 4,000 micrometers to meters. Okay, so I'm starting at micro, and then I'm going all the way up right here. Okay, so I know that there are 4,000 times 10 to the negative 6th meters. I'm just using these prefixes. Last one, I have 100 kilograms to milligrams. Okay. So, like we showed before, I'm going from kilograms, so that's to the 3rd, no, it's hard to see, to milli, which is to the negative 3rd. So, from kilograms to milligrams, I'm going times 10 to the 6th. I'm moving up. Okay, so with metric prefixes, it's really about practicing and also using them when you feel comfortable. Okay. Alright, our last really important part is PEMDAS, or rearranging equations. So in previous physics classes or math classes, you may have plugged in numbers and then rearranged from there. We're going to be focusing on actually rearranging before that, so we don't have to worry about math error. So as a reminder, we always start out with parentheses, then our exponents, multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. So let's talk about that and how we're going to be using it. So this is an example of the equation set that you're going to get on the AP exam. You'll see that there are a ton of equations, and you are probably going to need to rearrange some of these as we go. So let's talk about this equation right here, which is our kinetic energy equation, talk about how I would rearrange this. So I have K equals 1/2 mv squared. And let's say we're going to solve for v. Okay. So what would be my first step? Well, I want to get rid of this half right here so I can multiply both sides by 2. So I get 2k equals mv squared. I want to get v by itself. I'm going to divide by m. So I'm going to get v squared equals 2k over m. And how do I get rid of the square? I take a square root. So I'm going to get v equals square root over 2k m. So using PEMDAS, we can actually get equations that we want to see here. And this is something that we're really going to practice in class, and we're going to get used to doing this. Alright, so as a reminder, complete the Google form and then press Done on Google Classroom. Remember, we're going to go over this in class. Instead of homework where you bring it home, do problems, we're doing all of that in class. So all of this we're going to be reviewing and helping us to really prepare for this year.